Okay, good evening, class. This is my session 3 reflection on the this week's reading, as well as the audience and how I've interacted with them in regards to the information that I've posted on my blog, as well as how they've interacted with me. Initially, I just have to say that posting information in regards to my political views or my faith has been um, sort of a point of contention with me in regards to that, allowing people to have that type of access or interact with me on that level, only because of some of the feedback and or repercussions that come along with it. Mainly because due to my job and the company that I work for, not that they do not encourage you to express your feelings and your political views, but I wouldn't say I worry, but I am concerned that any of those would be misconstrued, and they're not in line with either the government or the company and can avoid being fired. With that being said, I have posted on my blog, which is Social Media and Tech in My Faith, and I have not received many responses. So I've reached out to either the class and some of my coworkers or friends, which primarily do work for the government as well, and pretty much share the same thoughts. And so that's what I'll be talking about today is my feelings or my apprehension to post in public forums or social media, and how or what I need to do to get over that in regards to sharing the gospel or sharing how I feel about social media and my faith. So what I've learned, especially from the video of Wesh, is that I'm in total agreement that there's so much information out there, and that's kind of what we teach as a Tradecraft developer. There's information out there everywhere. The important thing is, how does that apply to you? How does it apply to your job or to your occupation or whatever it is that you're trying to achieve? Every piece of information is not knowledge. It's just I wouldn't say another notch on the belt, but it's just another piece or consumption of information doesn't necessarily apply to you. It's those tidbits, those nuggets of information that actually apply to you personally that then turn into knowledge. And I agree with him. In applying that information, I've applied it to how I teach and how I develop courses, not just developing courses to teach them about space, but how it relates to them as an administrator, how it relates to them as a facilitator or facilities personnel. All of these people are supporting certain operations, but their understanding of what we do and our strategic vision for the organization is very important, but it has to be relatable to them. So that's how I try to relate information to make it more knowledgeable, to where they're consuming the information or they're taking in the information and it can personally be applicable. What could I do to change and motivate that behavior? Of course, I can be more open and be more adamant about sharing my information and my blogs and my point of views on social media. But what I've done is that I've tried to use my organization as a vetting process. So anything I want to post online, I do route it up through my supervisor or through our public affairs, just to ensure that any platform or any social media, anything that I post does not discredit either myself or the organization that I'm associated with. Because unfortunately, yes, I am associated with, being that I'm retired military, being that I've been associated through other associations through U.S. Spacecom. So those associations, then anyone can gather that, hey, this is where I work, this is what I do. So I just have to be cautious. I also have to balance that with, how do I share my faith? And so that was what I was really interested in, what Wes was talking about in regards to um, his story about the world being on fire. And then how do you get that information? Or, is it just that you just say the world's on fire? Um, so, so if I could continue, he said, so this is the way I'm going to make a basic argument today that we need to move our students, is what he was talking about, to simply being from knowledgeable, that is knowing a bunch of stuff, which is basically what we're trying to do when we line them up in these lecture halls and dump information in them and move them to being more knowledgeable, being able to apply that information and that content to an actual event or even personally to their lives. Because in the end of the day, their lives don't stop after college. They're going to have to take this information, and it has to be applicable to them. What I found interesting is that when they done the survey and they asked the students about the information that they're either in the lecture or what they're required to the books to buy, none of it was it's almost a waste of time or a waste of money. So in sharing that information, it has to be, if I'm going to buy something, or I'm going to buy a book, or I'm going to send in a lecture, how does it apply to me? And or how can I take this information and use it in the future? Okay, he also talked about media and how we view media. He says media are not just means of communication. Media shape what can be said, who can say it, who can hear it, how it can be said. And in that way, they also, in a sense, mediate relationships. And I thought it was very interesting based on his example of where the TV came in and when television came in. And while it was considered a blessing while you were able to see these different shows, now the house and the relationship and the dynamic of the family now revolved around the TV. So then their communication changed, and we can even see that today in our family. Like while we sit at the table, we do turn on the TV for the kids. Let them. We call it background music, but they are more concentrating on the TV than they are on us, and that to me was an indicator that, hey, I probably want to talk to my children, though they're 7, about their day and have that more of a concentrated talk instead of the TV going and or we on our phones, and to teach them young, like there needs to be a time to where you have that time to socialize with your family, and you have that time to socialize on with media. Oh, then the other example he had was the one-sided conversation, which it is today. Especially from a news outlet, if I were to ask you all these different questions in regards to how you feel about the current events, what's happening in Israel, what's happening with the current pandemic, what's happening with the mask mandate, a lot of those answers it's not a two-way. It's pretty much the media telling you what you're going to think based on their view. And I don't think it's intentional to a form of brainwashing or anything like that, but it's just that is a one-way conversation. So what I found was interesting, what he said is even in as far as social media, and that's how I kind of look at the content that whether it's on media or it's on television or it's on social media or both, what I'm looking at is he made a huge point that it's so easy to publish. It's so easy to put out information. It's so easy to just kind of shock and awe your audience based on what they're seeing or what they're reading. But it actually takes time to actually publish something that has content, that has sources, and that has fact-based information. And so that's kind of how we should look at it as we're looking at these different posts, or we're looking at these, looking at the news, or any commentators listening to blogs, listening to the radio. It's all form of media that we should be skeptical about. And what I said in my post, and I was looking at NACA, is that the difference between tacit and explicit information. And what I found is the difference between them, and then how the media use them to, I don't want to say exploit, but take advantage of their audience. What information is temporary, what information is lasting, what information grabs the audience, what information is just out there for the purpose of entertainment, And so you have to look at that and understand what the intention of that information is as a reader, as a hearer. And then I go back to the word of God is that he said, any man that has an ear, let him hear. And I really think he meant like that. If you truly want to understand and you truly want to hear, then open your ears, actively listen, take in the information, understand what it means. Don't just be swayed by anything that comes. Research it like the Bereans did. And then take that information. If it is legit, then you can apply it. And so, like I said, I don't have an audience right now, but I'm planning to grow it. And so with that means not to be afraid and post some of the information that I have retained from this class and some of the stuff that I've posted on a more visible social media. So I'm going to try Facebook first. Seems pretty scary, but that's where I think I would probably get more interaction with the audience and not, but I have to just be cautious of that. There will be trolls or there will be people that, express their opinion, but that opens up a conversation and that may be the conversations that I need to have. Thank you.